And welcome to Fixing South Sudan, your ideas for building the new nation. I am Adingor. Hello and welcome to Fixing South Sudan, your ideas for building the new nation. I am Adingor. This week on Fixing South Sudan, the Media Authority stages a workshop on freedom of expression in the Republic of South Sudan. Where is the line between free speech and censorship? How far is too far? Joining us in the show, our panel, namely Honorable Lily Albino Akol, Deputy Minister, Ministry of Information, Communication, Technology, and Postal Services. Anna Nimiriano, Editor-in-Chief, Juba Monitor, English Daily. Koang, Station Manager, iRadio. Our pleasure to welcome them on this show. And let's start with the Deputy Minister of Information. There has been a workshop, a 2-day workshop that came to an end only today, and give us a recap of what that workshop has been about. Was convened by the Media Authority. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mading, and I'm glad to be on the program once again. Thank you for the opportunity. As you said, yesterday the Media Authority started a 2-day workshop on strengthening the role of editors and station managers. And this is all is towards, it was gearing towards freedom of expression. And I think the workshop went very well because the number one thing that the workshop did was to create that cordial environment and to create that cordial relationship and understanding between Media Authority, media houses, editors, and station managers. So today was the closing day, and the recommendations and the resolutions, if the media houses follow through and if Media Authority follow through, I think we will see a revolution in the way media is reporting, because we talked a lot about where we are now as a country, as South Sudan. This is a very sensitive time for us. And the onus is not on the government alone, as we always say, it is collective responsibility.
And you talk of a government role, and the Ministry of Information created a law that established the Media Authority, and it operates at an arm's length from the government. What do you think is the importance of such kind of workshop, and in this case on freedom of expression? What is your view on
I think this workshop is very important and it's very timely. There's always a lot of talk between, as you said, where do you draw the line? What is freedom of expression? Is the government going too far? Is the Media Authority going too far? And what the workshop is doing is saying that the Media Authority is the body that regulates media in South Sudan, be it print media or radio or TV. And media houses, as is the case in every country in the world, are obliged to work within the framework of any law that the country have. And this has been the difficulty that Media Authority has been facing with some media houses. There has always been that pushback because all they see is the government trying to interfere into the work of the media. So I think this has been very timely to really understand what is the role of Media Authority. And as far as the Ministry of Communication is concerned, Yes, Media Authority is a parastatal, but it is under the Ministry of Information in terms of policy and guidance. But in terms of running day-to-day activities, the Media Authority is autonomous. It is pretty independent, but we are there.
Yeah, would you say as far as the government is concerned, you would say that there is no absolute freedom of expression, there must be some kind of responsibility?
We are saying, yes, we are talking about responsible reporting, responsible media. That's very important. Because if you see all the cases that Media Authority have handled, on all the situations where Media Authority was forced to intervene, it was because there was some sort of irresponsible reporting. So irresponsible reporting. And we have seen it. Yesterday we talked about many examples about some media houses giving a platform to certain communities to express unfounded views or unfounded allegations about another community. This is instigation, this is inciting. And you don't do that. We have seen very biased reporting about the conflict in South Sudan, about what is going on in South Sudan. So
by domestic media or international?
Both, by domestic media and international media, because media at the end of the day is the same. Where is international media getting the information from? International media is getting information from our journalists who are here on the ground. And most of these journalists are contracted by these media outlets. So we say that the journalists in South Sudan have a very important role in portraying what's happening in South Sudan in the right way, and in also projecting that positive image that all of us need as a country now. We are just a nation that was born yesterday, full of aspirations. We have a lot of things to do. There are a lot of beautiful things in South Sudan as a country and as a nation. Yes, we are facing challenges. Yes, there are difficulties. Yes, there are conflicts. But the way the issue of South Sudan is being reported in the international media and in the way some of our journalists here in the country are handling it, it raises many questions and it raises many concerns for us. And so...
And in the journalistic quarters also there's a concern that is being raised. Are you committed to the freedom of expression?
Of course.
Only that it should be regulated by the law.
Of course, it is regulated by the law, because freedom of expression comes with responsibilities, and it comes with, you cannot just say, I'm free to insult, I'm free to instigate, I'm free to defame, I'm free to make unfounded allegations. No.
There are limits.
There are limits to freedom of expression.
And the law establishes the limits.
And the law establishes the limits. And so, and yesterday I talked about that. The problem with journalists in South Sudan is that they feel if they are on the wrong, and when you touch them, they say, or when you ask them, or when you question them, they say, oh, there's censorship, there's no freedom of expression.
Maybe we should bring in the others, and this is a good place to bring in Anna Nimiriano from the print media. You have had a lot of encounters, and maybe before I hear your perspectives on whether on freedom of expression, let me get your view about the workshop which you have been attending and facilitated by the Media Authority. And what do you think of such kind of workshop and what it tried to achieve? Welcome.
Okay, thank you, Martin, for giving me this chance and to be even part of the show. The workshop is very important. Sometimes even it is not easy to come together like journalists and even to media authority or responsible people in the government. You know, most of the journalists we meet in the field when there's a press conference or workshop. But the discussions was very, very vital and it's educative. I wish most of the journalists will be there to get the information from the right body. Like Media Authority is the regulatory body for media in South Sudan. And what they're telling us is what is happening. But I just want to assure the listener of South Sudan that sometimes these mistakes is happened or whatever was discussed there, like error is happened, for example, in the print media. We are doing our best. And like the questions of journalists are not professional in doing the work, and because of the mistakes occurring. When we ask the questions, why they're not professional? You know, in South Sudan, even government has not institutions or training center to build the capacity of the journalists to be professional. And we are trying our best to mentor them. And like now, MDI, in AMDIS, they are training journalists. That is why they're coming to the work. And
so basically the workshop provided you an opportunity, or the practitioners, to examine themselves and to look at the mistakes of the print media, the broadcast media, and even the regulatory body, because there are issues that come up. What do you think was the most important thing that came up in the workshop?
yeah, the most important things that came out of the workshop is to iron what is going on in the country, especially for journalists or for media houses. You know, as I said, mistakes and sometimes misspellings of names and institutions, and even to tell us the roles of editors and even the stations manager in the media. You know, sometimes some of us, maybe they're not taking care of what is going on. And what I realized, because of the low pace or because of the economic crisis in the country, some journalists, or especially editors or stations managers, they are doing other work. You know, when you are doing more than one work, maybe you cannot concentrate so much in the what.
So you are conceding the fact that there are challenges that are facing the practitioners and even the media institutions, challenges of professionalism, challenges of lack of infrastructure, and even capacity. And you are saying that that ongoing dialogue is important from time to time, so that you examine your role in a democracy. And maybe let me ask you the question, and that is at the heart of the debate, whether you think there is freedom of expression in South Sudan, and then we address the question of how far is too far.
Yeah, in fact, we are talking that we have a freedom of expressions, but to some extent, when coming to the practical part of it, it's not totally freedom of expressions, because there are limitations also for information to be delivered to the public. You cannot have that freedom like everything you want to put toward in the media or for the public to know. And for the print media, up to now, still there is security deployed at the printing press. Is that the freedom we have? But they are there to go through the stories. Like now, if we submit the story, we are calling them the final editors. They will go through the story and they will see what is not good for them. They will remove up. Okay, if we have a freedom of expressions, why deploy security at the printing press and they're removing stories? And other things also, sometimes you want to talk and we are even censored by the government. This information is not to appear. If it appears tomorrow, you will face the consequences. If the official person is telling me like that, where is the freedom?
So there is some setback to the freedom of expression, and you are saying that what is important is to have media houses regulating themselves and adhering to the law, because emphasis will be put on responsible reporting.
Exactly. But the other thing is, now we have media authority. What I want to say, for example, before establishing the media authority, security, even they're the one someone else, they're the one doing other things. But now with the media authority, why not leave everything to media authority to do it? Because they're the regulatory body. If there's anything, they will be the one to deal with the media houses. Not to enter even to have anybody to go. Like last month, somebody even from the government went to the printing press, and even he was given order to remove the story, and the story was removed. Imagine, security is removing the story. Even government official with the powers coming even to remove the story. And where is the work of what media authority?
There are challenges, and that is what the media authority is trying to breach. And maybe let's take a break from here, and we will come to that point.
you looking for a quality media company in South Sudan? Have you heard of Dolco Media? Well, look no further. At Dolco Media, we fix any event for you. We provide top general video coverage for you using our state-of-art equipment, including our unique digital video mixer and the crane tripod. Would you like quality photography? We can fix it for you. Would you love to have a first-class wedding? We can also do it for you at an affordable price. Oh, would you like to laugh? We can also make you do that. Contact us now on 0920 007 515 or visit our office located within Peace Hospital in Juba to receive our quality digital technology service.
Dolco Media, we fix the nation.
Welcome back to Fixing South Sudan, your ideas for building the new nation. I am Adingor. Our topic, freedom of expression versus censorship. How far is too far? And with us for the show, Honorable Lily Albino Akola, Deputy Minister, Ministry of Information, Communication, Technology, and Postal Services. Anna Nimiriano, Editor-in-Chief, Juba Monitor Daily Newspaper, and Koang Pile, Station Manager, iRadio. We come back for the final round. And maybe, Koang, let me bring you here into the conversation. We are talking about the workshop, two-day workshop that concluded today and is dwelling on freedom of expression and the challenges of censorship, the issues that Anna is raising, but also there is concern that the journalists and the media in South Sudan is not responsible. That is why the security apparatus, they take it upon themselves to safeguard the public from bad journalism. And at the same time, the argument is made, and that is the subject of the workshop, in the age of media authority, there is no need for the security forces to be the one watching the watchdogs, if you will. Welcome. Give us a little bit about the workshop and your takeaway from the workshop. Then we'll bring you into the debate.
Okay. Thank you for hosting me, and I'm glad also I shared the podium with the Honorable Deputy Minister, also to help us in some of the challenges we face. I went to the workshop, and the workshop was about editors and station managers in terms of the work they do and some of those challenges that come into their work, and freedom of expression in general and media in the country. And we benefited a lot, and I think it's good that we as editors were brought to that, or station managers, to that workshop, so that we are able to tell our side of the story also, because there's some challenge also. And the way I got the workshop is it dwelled too much on ethical journalism, which is doing the right, not the wrong. And also it talked about also access to information also, which is another issue, and including the journalists. I did a presentation, and it was really a learning and also sharing my experience. And one of the things that I picked from that workshop is my interaction with the media authority officials and other officials, including the deputy minister, and even listening from her that the concern of irresponsible journalism that we acknowledge with the media managers also is a concern. We also share our concern with the authority that that freedom we are talking about is not there, does not exist. We feel like it's not there. And that's why sometimes we are forced to censor ourselves. And also we found authority also coming to censor media house. And after the establishment of media authority, we thought that thing will change. Yes, a little bit of change, we have seen it, but it's not much. We feel that still there's a lot that media authority need to do. I know the ministry is no longer much involved into the work of media, because even when we asked the Honorable Minister the other time that what is your assessment on freedom of expression and also media, he said it's not his work, that is the work of media authority. I think what we have taken from that is the concern from the authority that we need to really professionalize journalism, and is a concern that we are addressing. The work of, maybe if I can say a little bit about the work of an editor.
Actually, put it this way,
yes.
Because you are crystallizing the issue, and would you say that since the media authority is exerting its control, and now for the first time in South Sudan, all the media houses are being registered under the media authority.
Yes.
Would you say that the security forces should lay their hands off media control and let the media authority take charge?
Yeah, we want it done even like yesterday, so that they leave the media authority alone to do their work. We have those challenges, and media authority is in the right position, is the right institution that can address those things, and we believe they have the capacity to address those. What we need is that the establishment of those committees. There are those committees that
the institution should be fully established.
Yes, those institutions
and
that
fully
are supposed
supported
to address those issues that's between the media and also the public and also the government. Those institutions are not there, the committees are not there, and what we are getting is that they are not establishing those institutions because of
finance,
funding and all those things. That came out. But what we would like to hear from the Honorable Minister, Deputy Minister, is that is us with the media, as media managers, we are trying our best. We know there is what we are practicing in the journalism that we are practicing is not that a professional journalism that we can say. We are practicing poor journalism, but we are trying within our media house to make sure that, because the work of an editor is that, you send a journalist to the field, he comes with the raw material, and you go through it, you approve it before it goes on air. Yeah, there are those challenges that maybe because you have other assignment and then you assign a junior staff there, and then maybe things went on. And there are those things also that
as a station manager, sorry to interrupt you, you are trying to be responsible.
Yes.
And you are doing your best.
Yes.
And you should only be allowed to adhere to the professional ethics of the profession.
Yes.
Because journalism regulates itself.
Yeah.
Because fairness, accountability, transparency are embedded in the profession.
Yeah.
You are saying that you should be left alone.
Yes.
And even the freedom of expression we are talking about should be allowed to flourish, and democracy should take its course.
Yes, because the freedom of expression we are talking about, to me, is still we need to work hard to achieve that. I know it does not happen overnight, but I think the authority need to acknowledge that because it's like even some security personnel, like she mentioned earlier, that they will be disturbed because of a certain story that has been published, because of the headline, because of the...
Sometimes a newspaper gets shut down, and a radio station gets shut down.
Yeah, and then why do you take law into your own hand and say things, there are law there, we have constitution, we have the Media Authority Acts, why don't you follow it? Why don't you...
The defamation,
yes,
there is
libel. Take us to court. And I think what we need to take from here, that we need this guy this national security personnel who has been stationed at the printing press, taking the work of an editor, because like she said, that person become a final decision maker for most of the newspaper. Yes, there are issues, but Are you telling us that whatever this guy is removing it constitute hate speech?
And you are raising something important, and we will come back. And you are talking about public interest. Who is really safeguarding the public interest? Is it the editor, or is it the security person?
Yeah.
And where is the mandate that gives them that feeling that it is the security that knows best? And maybe there are a lot of serious allegations that are being raised here. And the Deputy Minister, people are talking about the practical challenges in the profession. Indeed, as he stated, the concern of the security sector and the government is that the media in the Republic of South Sudan has not matured enough, and it has to be supported from behind. And this is why you have what they call guided democracy. But in the interest of freedom of expression, there are amenities, there is a recourse to the law. If a journalist, for instance, in the case of the print, publishes a damaging article against a certain personality, they can use the defamation laws to take both the publisher and the particular reporter to court. But in this case, that is not being allowed. The rule of law is not being allowed to flourish, and there's a complaint, as you have heard, that indeed freedom of expression does not exist in South Sudan.
Thank you again, and I thank my two able colleagues here for articulating the issues. And I think they somehow answered the questions that they are throwing at me. And I think this was the gist of the argument yesterday, because yesterday I said, all of you ask us, the government, is there freedom of expression in South Sudan? And we say, is there professional journalism in South Sudan? And two of them are connected. Freedom of expression does not happen in a vacuum. Democracy does not happen and does not exist in a vacuum, because there are systems, there are laws, there are regulations, there is professionalism. And yesterday I think I said, because of lack of professionalism, that's why glaring mistakes are made. And sometimes these mistakes are so big that they cannot be overlooked. And this is how some of media houses are now being questioned by security and are being questioned by media authority. Now let us look at media authority. All of us agree that media authority as an institution is new. It's just started, it was established recently. And when media authority started, the first challenge that they faced was registering and licensing all media houses in South Sudan.
There was resistance.
There was resistance
from
every entity. And that resistance is not presented in the way that's supposed to be presented by the media, because they still put it under the government of South Sudan is censoring newspapers or is shutting down newspapers. They don't report what happened. Recently, we have a very, I can use this as an example. One of the Arabic newspapers, they don't have a license, no registration. When the media authority shut that down, that was after giving them grace period. They did not comply. They were shut down. The editor went and said, I was censored. When I refused, the government came after me. And I think these are the problems that we are talking about. And what the workshop did, and what the workshop is doing is now, it's creating a platform for media authority, for the government, and for the media houses to have a very candid dialogue, a very candid debate. Yes, there are issues that must be addressed. And I think now media authority is moving in their phase 2, that all media-related issues and problems should be brought to their attention. Unfortunately, there are some incidents that happen that media authority is not even informed about. Unfortunately, there are some officers that are deployed that may take the law in their hand and that may go far. And this thing is not brought to the attention of the media authority. And it's not brought to the attention of the government. And there are cases where media authority was able to intervene and solve the problem. But it seems that South Sudan is the only country where we as a government cannot talk about national security issues. When we say there are issues of national security, this is not a joke. Sometimes they are even beyond our mandate as the Ministry of Information. They are beyond the mandate of Media Authority.
In other countries, the issues of national security are spelled out.
Yes.
And there are military installations
yes.
that are respected.
And also there are issues of sometimes classified information, classified documents. These raise concerns. But sometimes our media houses, they just want these things to be talked about and discussed without, as if we are not a country, as if we are not a state, as if we don't have a system. And I think this is where the conflict is coming from. So before we talk about freedom of expression, you cannot say, yes, we admit that we lack professionalism in journalism, but still we want freedom of expression, because these two go hand in hand.
There must be responsibility and there must be guidance.
The editor, you must edit your newspapers.
There must be guidance.
Yes.
And the guidance is being provided by the media authority.
Yes.
And the credit that the media authority gets, even from the journalists and the media houses in South Sudan, is that they have managed to depoliticize the issues of the media and to desecuritize them, if you will.
Yes. Yes.
And then what they are talking about is that the censorship, the brute censorship, still persists, because if they are allowed the freedom to publish, if they go wrong, then there is the rule of law.
Let me tell you something. The problem with our journalists here, they say, okay, if I write wrong information or if I defame you, you have the right to take me to court. But in that defamation, you have destroyed someone's life, you have destroyed someone's reputation. It's not something easy.
It's okay.
But
you can take a lawsuit against them.
No, it doesn't happen that way, because once the government, because normally it happens with government officials. Once the government official who is defamed raises questions, now this is linked to what? Censorship.
It is not the government official that determines the defamation.
No,
it is the court.
I'm saying
if they feel that they have been defamed, then they can take. They can go to court.
The person that is always defamed
is the government in support.
Is the government
in support of the rule of law?
No, most of the time, government officials are targeted. There can be reports on corruption, and I talked about that extensively yesterday. If you are going to report on corruption, as a journalist, you do your work, you do your investigation, you do your homework, so that when that...
The information must be credible.
It must be credible and correct. It must be credible and correct, because it's not just a matter of saying, I'm going to write whatever I want to write, and if you are not happy with it, take me to court. This is not, what professional journalism is about.
That is what the Constitution talks about. It advocates that this is a democracy, and the rule of law should take its course.
But before
are you in support of the rule of law?
I am in support of the rule of law, but what I'm saying, before I even take you to court, you as a journalist, you must do your homework. But the problem is that all journalists are clinging towards this claim that they cannot be touched. They cannot be taken to court.
No one is above the law.
No one is above the law, yes, but we are not allowed to do that. We are not allowed to go to have that day in court where I say, Juba Monitor published something against me that is not correct, because they will say the deputy minister is harassing media.
It seems that the
deputy minister is targeting journalists.
It seems that you are defending that there is the censorship that exists is warranted. Is that what you are arguing?
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that we have a collective responsibility. And what I'm saying is that until we have professional journalism in South Sudan, there are going to be issues, there are going to be conflict. And these conflicts are not caused by the government. These conflicts are caused by the lack of professional media in South Sudan. I think you see where I am coming from. So as a government, yes, it is our job to create that conducive environment, and that's why we are addressing these issues, and that's why we are creating a platform for us to talk. And as I said, in media authority, let me finish. I'm saying media authority is going through phases and is going through transition. And my two colleagues here are saying now things are improving, but they want it to be better. And this is where we are creating that environment where things are better. This is what is required of journalists. This is what is required of media authority. Let us work together. And this is what we have started in these 2 days.
The media must be responsible.
It must be responsible.
That is the bottom line.
Professional.
Okay.
That's the bottom line.
They have a bit of a reaction. Maybe let me hear a little bit from Anna before you come in.
Okay.
And there is this issue of professionalism, that the censorship that exists is because the media is sort of inflaming the situation at times, even inciting groups against each other. And the government feels that given the war situation that has been prevailing, the media must be guarded tightly. Is it something you agree with?
No. I think that it will look like sometimes I'm repeating myself, but I'm not repeating myself for the sake of this issue of professionalism. I think in so many discussions or workshops, this issue is coming up. Okay, if the government said journalists are not professional, why not to build the capacity of journalism? You cannot say that journalists are not professional and you are unable to build their capacity. All these journalists, we employ them, they get the knowledge from, many of them from the neighboring countries. And those even who got, who graduate from university, for example, Juba. And as I say earlier, they just got training. And some of us are a struggle to mentor them to reach to that extent. And government are supposed to thank the media houses in South Sudan with the little job they are doing. Now, if there's any information is going, is this unprofessional journalists that are talking about it, is the one producing the story, and even the one is broadcasting. If there is a mistake, let us talk like that. But when it is just generalized, like journalists in South Sudan are not professional, for me, I will not agree. Since the independence of South Sudan, up to now, we are doing our work. If the informations are going out, it's the media houses in South Sudan, the few one, the one who are being suffering in doing all this work, we are the one doing it. So
let me put this to you. They talk of the media being the fourth estate, and do you think media has a vital role to play in building this nascent nation called South Sudan?
I agree, because I attend the national dialogue, the one of greatest equatorial region conference. You see how the information reaches to people. It is because of the media. If the TV is not there, the newspaper is not there, how can this information reach? And that is why the media is really try their best to build these nations and even to advocate for peace in
you
the
talk
countries.
of lack of capacity and professionalism. What do you need the government to be doing for the media sector?
I want them to build institutions or training centers to build the capacity of journalists. After having that, if journalists are not professional, they will talk about that. Because they cannot talk without doing something for journalists. Even this training is not coming from the government, it's what NGOs or these international organizations. But where are the government doing for journalists who are not professional?
And that is where you have to come in. You have a few things you want to say, and then welcome.
Yeah, thank you again. When we talk of media, it like professionalism, or professionalism is a challenge, is one of the challenge where we said we address, because there are some challenge, but not actually, because if we talk about where did we go wrong as a media here in the country, media, most of the cases now you see are opinions pieces that have been written. It's not a journalist's work. It's somebody writing his opinion. But the real journalism, there are little problem that we went into because of journalism. And what we go into is maybe a hard news, a big story that the government does not like. And that's where sometimes we go into problem. For example, one of the problems that we went into as a radio station is balancing a story. Where on earth that a country will say, don't balance the story. Yeah, this is a problem. But here, our government say, don't balance it. They don't want to hear some voices. That is another challenge.
And journalism is not one-sided.
Let me talk about freedom of speech. Yes, radio is there. You give us space. Media authority is there. But when we go out to talk to people, people are intimidated. And when they speak, they are followed. So is that the freedom of speech? I think this is also, the Honorable Deputy Minister also need to tell us also, where are the line? People, somebody will tell you, if you go now even with your camera, somebody will say, I don't want to speak. I don't want to speak. Someone even jokingly say, I can speak in South Sudan when I'm in a space far away from the reach of the bullet in South Sudan. So people are fearing for their own life. And I can say, I think in one way or another, Madin, we are a police state. Because even whatever media authority is doing, there's somebody outside there also who control also media authority.
And of course, that relates to the our history, where we are coming from the liberation struggle. And even though the laws are there, they are spelled out, it will take time to create awareness. And the critical point that comes up on the part of editors or station managers, you are the gatekeepers. In the case of radio, live radio, people call in and they say extreme things. And that is the kind of thing. Who should be able to control that? Because in the event that the station managers are not able to control even the hate speech that can come as a result of a live show, that is problematic. And that is where the dialogue that has been ongoing is important. You are saying we should make a transition and narrow the gaps, because we must understand.
And I think with the live call, we have, like yesterday we talked about ethical journalism, and there are guiding principles that guide journalists, that guide media houses. Each media house has its own guideline, and these guidelines are given to journalists. Even those journalists who present the show, they control the show. Yes, there are those people who may throw some words, but this presenter take initiative to educate this particular person, and that's why we say, we tell our journalists, let's practice peace journalism. When you are on air, encourage dialogue, encourage messages of peace. Don't encourage people who come in and discuss issue of division, hate speech, and messages that incite people. So that's why, yes, we are struggling. It's a media. We are not saying we'll never make any mistake, but those mistakes, and it's given by the law that when you do a mistake, when something goes wrong, you immediately correct it. And it's allowed by the law.
Before I give her the final chance, I'd like to go back to the role of the print newspaper and the point you made that some of the articles out there in the print is really opinion articles written by non-journalists. But the question is this issue of gatekeeping. As the editor-in-chief, you have a responsibility not to publish certain information. And in the newspapers, what we are seeing, even in Juba Monitor, you can see an advert that is totally not meeting the public interest. It makes it into your newspaper. You can see an article that is defamatory in nature, and still you published it. So what do you say about your responsibility as an editor-in-chief to be the gatekeeper, to avoid the issues of censorship?
Thank you, Madam, for that question. I think I'm doing my best. You are right, and this thing we are getting mostly in the group of youth, and sometimes of community leaders. And if it comes to me, I just can read. If I just see the story, it's incitement or defamations, I will say no. I'm controlling that. That is why it's reducing. You know, some of them will come, as you said, in form of advertisement. Whatever the money you say, they're ready to pay. But it is not a matter of money. Is this information is going to benefit the public, or is going to cause problems? That one is there. But I think what we can do, even we have to educate our people. Let them even know which information is going to the public. And for example, if you are making incitement, and you are a South Sudanese, where are you going with this incitement? And it is like even you are damaging more information. Especially in our situations now, we need peace. And we need to control other things so that peace, the total peace come in the country.
When we talk about fixing South Sudan, is your media fixing South Sudan or adding the fuel for the destruction of South Sudan?
No. I think we are not destroying South Sudan. That is why in 2017, Juba Monitor dedicated a page for peace. And if you see, even we have filed for peace. And many of our writings even about peace. Because it is our country, how can we destroy it? If there is some small, for example, error in mistake, that is human. You know, for newspaper, it's not like a radio. If there is mistake, you can correct immediately. But for newspaper, if this mistake come out, the only thing we have to do is we are doing apology. And that is all.
You are fixing the country, and your role is vital for the democracy.
Of
and what
course.
about iRadio, the so-called iRadio?
Yes,
That is the
you are
minister
on
of
South Sudan,
information.
and I think Mading, media is there for society. And the society we want in South Sudan is a society that is, we want to see as a united society, a society that is for peace and to achieve a lasting peace that we are all yearning for. So what we are doing as iRadio is that we make sure that we are part of this peace agreement that is being revitalized, peace agreement that is being implemented. We make sure that we educate our people about this peace, they understand it and they hone it through radio. Because information is powerful. If you don't give these people information they deserve, they need, then you give room to what we call fake news or rumors. And when you give space to rumors, and then you don't have a nation. And that's why I would like to tell or ask Honorable Deputy Minister that let them let the officials speak. When there's something happening in the country, let them come out immediately and address
so
the
that
nation.
so that the propaganda doesn't take
Does
hold.
not take control.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you very much. And the media and the other sectors, they are not enemies. They are supposed to be friends in building the nation. How do we create that kind of convergence that we are doing one thing?
I think we have started. As I said, it is a collective responsibility. We are in it together. And there is no doubt that we are South Sudanese and we love this country and we want the best for this country. It is how we are doing it. This is where we differ. Everyone thinks their way is the best. But the general consensus is that as citizens of this country, we have a moral obligation to our people and to our state and to our nation. And we as a government, we don't shy away from the difficulties that are here. We don't shy away from the challenges. But what we are saying is that we need to create a platform where we talk and where also we need to actually work a lot on our relationship with the media. And I talked about that today at the workshop, and I'm happy the workshop took place. And by the way, the workshop was organized by Media Authority. It was their idea, it was their work, but we work with partners. And UNESCO is one of our partners in the media sector. And UNESCO agreed to sponsor the workshop. It doesn't mean that it did not come from the government. I just wanted to correct that information. I think
Are we going to
important. So we are starting. Now, when we talk about freedom of expression, I'm a member of the National Dialogue. You have been to the National Dialogue. You have been covering National Dialogue. We have seen how National Dialogue was covered all around South Sudan, uncensored. And the things that were discussed in the National Dialogue, as much as they are very important and true, there are also things that will make everybody uncomfortable and cringe. But there was no censoring of National Dialogue. Did you hear anyone that was followed home and shot because they talked at the National Dialogue? But the media does not want to acknowledge that. This show is going to be played on SSBC, the National broad television. Is there censoring in South Sudan? So there are issues that we need to address, but this exaggerated view that every journalist in South Sudan is dead, that's what we are concerned about as
there is
the
freedom,
government.
but there are constraints on the side of the reporters and on the side
there
of
are
the
challenges
government.
that we should work to address, and Media Authority has already started. And even when we talk about lack of capacity and training, when we are a journalist, we are a journalist, we are trained. I'm not here to come and train you. When you are an editor-in-chief, you are supposed to be trained. Yes, we as a government...
If you are not trained, you should not be a journalist.
You shouldn't be a journalist, because this is where the problem is. This idea that everyone is a journalist and say, okay, I'm making mistakes because the government did not train me. No. It's just like when you are a doctor. Once you get that license, you are finished, you are trained. If you are not trained, don't come to us.
I'm afraid we have to stop it from there.
Thank you.
And thank you for being on Fixing South Sudan. And our discussion has been about freedom of expression versus censorship. How far is too far? And our guests have been Honorable Lily Albino Okolakol, Deputy Minister of Information, Anna Nimiriano, Editor-in-Chief, Juba Monitor English Daily, and Koang Station Manager. iRadio.